Let's meet our panellists and DWEN members. Amanda Rose. Amanda Rose is the founder of 6 businesses. She's Australia's foremost strategic connector, workplace trainer, business consultant, and a passionate keynote speaker. You've probably read her weekly Boss Lady Careers column in the Daily Telegraph, and she is the founder and publisher of Business Women Media. She's also the founding director of Western Sydney Women and Western Sydney Executive Women. She's the managing director of Western Sydney Advisory and the founder and CEO of Small Business Women Australia. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you.
Now, next up, we have Narelle in the middle. Narelle Anderson is the founder and managing director of Envirobank Recycling, an accomplished business leader and Indigenous mentor and speaker. Narelle is a Yuggera woman who grew a waste management business, CBD Enviro Services, 20-fold before selling it to a public company. Now, Narelle then set her sights on rewarding Australia's recyclers and founded Envirobank in 2008. She's a board member of the Australia Council of Recycling, the Green Building Council of Australia, and the New South Wales Indigenous Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Narelle.
Thank you.
Now, last but certainly not least, we have Anaita Sarkar. Anaita is the co-founder of Hero Packaging and the former founder of Untitled Chapter and a guest lecturer at Macquarie University. Anita and her husband Vic co-founded Hero Packaging, an online home compostable packaging company operating globally, and she has sold over 15 million compostable mailers to over 40,000 businesses. Anita published her book, Sell Anything Online, in 2021, and has since built a TikTok audience of more than 290,000 followers. And that's all with her marketing videos. So welcome, Anita.
Thank you.
Now, we're going to get into the chit-chat now, ladies. So what I would like to start with is I would really like to hear about that first spark, that moment of passion. What really ignited your passions? And Amanda, I would like to start with you since we're in Western Sydney.
Yes, we are.
And I would like to know, what is it about Western Sydney that you find so special?
Well, besides the fact that I've come from Western Sydney, the thing is, I think Western Sydney, the people of Western Sydney have grit. They are passionate, they're hardworking, they're underestimated time and time again, and they're also mocked and belittled a lot of times too. And I wanted to change that, especially for women and for girls, because that was a really big, bugbear of mine growing up. Oh, you're a Westie, or oh, well, gee, that's you live so far away, or everything had a negative connotation. I thought, how can we turn that around? Where when you said you're from Western Sydney, people are like, oh, you're from Western Sydney. You know, like the future of New South Wales, pretty much where all the talent is. So I wanted to change that. So that's why I created Western Sydney Women.
Yes, there's a lot of bias, isn't there? Unconscious bias and
there's a lot of deliberate
bias.
Elitism is thriving, let me tell you. But the only way to change it is not to change their attitudes, but to change ours about ourselves, and to give girls and women resources, mentoring, connections, the confidence to be able to proudly say where they're from, but to have the opportunities given to them that they never had. So I created Western Sydney Women because I wanted girls and women to have financial literacy, financial confidence, and confidence in general, to be able to pick and choose what they wanted in life, but then to have the resources, the access, and the opportunities to be able to do that.
So you just mentioned proudly, being able to go proudly out there and say who you are and what you do. You're a proud boss lady, aren't you?
I am, absolutely am. And can I tell you a story about that? So I was made fun of by a few gentlemen online when I mentioned being a boss or something. Oh, you think you're a boss lady? And they just went on and on and on. I went, okay then. So I started using the hashtag boss lady every post that I made after that as a, stick it to them. And then I thought, hang on a minute, we all should do it. So then I just created, and I want every single woman to be proud of being a boss of something, whether it's their own life, a business, whatever it is.
Now, Narelle, if you wouldn't mind, we'll go along to you. You come from a long line of change makers. Your great uncle was the late Senator Neville Bonner. He was the first Aboriginal Australian to become a Member of Parliament. Now, he was also Australian of the Year, so you've got this pedigree of pretty impressive people in your background. So how did that impact you as an entrepreneur, and did that have any kind of seed of what you were going to do in the future, the spark that ignited what you were going to do?
I think something that my uncle and I have in common is resilience. And really, my journey as an entrepreneur started long before my career in waste management. I left home at a very young age. I left home when I was 16, and I actually got my first job when I was 14 and 9 months. I didn't finish school, and I have got ahead and gone ahead in life just because I've had this unbelievable self-belief that I can do whatever it is that I put my mind to. When I was living at home, I'm quite a good networker, so I was a rallier of the street kids, and my very first business was a kissing business.
Still growing?
And this is really a case of fake it till you make it, because I had zero experience in kissing, I can tell you. But I was holding kissing classes, and the children in the street had to bring along their pillow. I would do a demonstration, and then I would critique everybody. And I charged an entry fee for doing that. So I can tell you that all the kids in that street now, I'm sure that they're exceptional kissers, at least from the demonstrations that I saw. So that was my first business, and then I started a promotional company called terrible name, Mega Magnetic Promotions. Awful name. I can tell you the logo was even more awful. It was one of those, what did they call them back then? The little line drawings. Anyway. And then from there, I just went and worked with corporates, and again, just really have always had a belief that I can do whatever. And I, by accident, landed in the recycling space. But you know, sometimes in life you go along and do different things, and then you find that one thing that's your passion. And obviously, culturally, as an Aboriginal person, you know, our whole charter is care for country, and really that's what the recycling and environmental space is about. It's about caring for country. But one thing that I like to do with Envirobank and the other company that I had is I'm now a boss lady, and so with that comes an opportunity to employ people and therefore give other, you know, young Aboriginal people and or non-Aboriginal people that perhaps don't have the education and opportunity to get ahead in life. And really all you need to do is turn up, stand up and have a crack, and you can actually be and do whatever it is that you want.
So you mentioned, you know, that love of country, it's kind of integral to who you are. But so how did you take that initial gem of an idea and then take it to Envirobank?
Well, I think owning your own business is really tough. So you have to find something that you are innately passionate about. That's sort of the first step. And it just, you know, sort of rings true for me, you know, the impact of what we do on the planet. And just so happens that I'm in that space and I'm able to make that impact. And I'm also the kind of person that, you know, can see a problem and then, you know, just wants to get out and get it fixed. And we did, when I started in the industry, there was a lot of problem with contaminated recycling. And, you know, I just sort of sat around the table and thought, how can we make an impact? And one of the ways to do that was to incentivize people for doing the right things. So I built a rewards platform around that we now call Crunch, and that's about rewarding and incentivizing people for doing the right thing. We especially focus on the container deposit legislation, so bottles and cans, and it's just grown from there.
Now, Anita, you're also in the Enviro space, but that wasn't your first business, was it? And you also come from a family where there was a family business, small business was part of your life growing up. How did that impact when you first decided to start your own business?
I think so. My mum, who's here, she's a doctor, and 7 years after we came from India to Australia, she started her own medical practice, her own GP surgery. And I think at that time, I didn't really see her as a business owner. I saw her as she took the traditional Indian path of being a doctor. But what it did spark in me was the concept that she was in charge. She made the decisions of her practice. And what's amazing is that my dad has always been her receptionist. And to this day, it's that way. So I never actually thought, okay, well, I need to be less, or I don't have to be ambitious, or I can't make decisions. And so that kind of sparked something in me where I thought, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to be, then they're so happy. I want to be that way. In terms of actually starting a business, it actually took a long time and many years of trying all these different career paths and realizing I was really unhappy, and then realizing actually maybe working for myself is the right thing to do.
Yeah, your CV is quite a roller coaster ride through a bunch of different careers. I think the accounting would probably come in handy.
It does, and it doesn't at the same time, because I came out of school and I thought I've got to do something that's that good Indian girl. It's got to be medicine, it's got to be law, it's got to be accounting, it's got to be one of those ones. It's got to have prestige. And I wanted to make my parents happy and proud, and that's the way I thought it was going to be. Actually, that kind of spurred on this a flow on of events that it led me from there, and I realized, I'm unhappy in the work that I'm doing there, and I don't think this is possible anymore. And so I changed into media, and I thought maybe it's the work. I tried that and it didn't work. And I tried my hand at marketing, and the people were nice, and that didn't make me happy. And so then I thought, I think it's something to do with working for someone else. And when I was pregnant with my second kid, I said, you know what, now's the time. I'm just going to give it a go. And I started my business, and suddenly the amount of satisfaction and happiness that I got, even though I was making one order every few weeks, that amount of happiness I had never felt before.
So let's talk a little bit about that first business, Olivia & Co, because kind of in a way it dovetails what you've moved on to now, because that's was monogram, personalised leather goods, and now you're obviously, I guess you saw a problem when you were doing that business that needed to be solved, and that's why you've come up with Hero Packaging.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm actually the opposite of Narelle in that she has been in this environmental space for such a long time. And what happened to me is that I had a business and I was packaging up orders, and it was almost a selfish way of just going, I'm going to scale this business and do it in any way that I want. And so I was buying, satchels from the post office, and they were plastic, and I was packaging my orders, and there was just a day where I just saw a pile of them sitting there, and they were all in plastic, and inside it was wrapped in bubble wrap too. And I think it was just that really sickening realization just in that one day where I thought, this is not right. And so that's when I went home. I quickly rang my husband. I was like, I've got a business idea. I think we can solve this. That was the start of a 9-month process of research into starting Hero Packaging.
So we've talked a little bit about that genesis, where the idea came from. Now I'd like to touch a little bit on the challenges, because we did some research last year with Dell and DWEN, and it was independent research with more than 350 business leaders to find out what issues women entrepreneurs are facing and thinking about. And from the findings of that The Way We Are Australian Women in Business report, 41% of women entrepreneurs said a lack of confidence is their number one career barrier. And 90% of female leaders think that women face biases that men don't. Now, I think I'll throw this one to you first, Amanda Rose. How does your experience track with that? Do you and have you faced a lot of biases in your time coming up as a women entrepreneur in Western Sydney?
Just keep adding to it. Being a woman, Western Sydney. working class. And then add to it for Western Sydney, if you're a migrant, it's even harder for them. So, look, I have faced a lot. I had the blessing of coming from a family, a working class family that, tradie father and brothers, that if I faced anything, they were just like, pat him on the head, sweetheart, and move along. Don't let it get to you. So I got I was ignored a lot, blocked from opportunities, not taken seriously. It's endless. And it still happens, but I just don't care. And I think that's how you have to feel. You cannot get angry about it in the sense of I'm going to fight you head on, because there are, more than one ways to skin a cat. There are other doors to open. There are other things you can do. Other people will work with you. So those that block you and the bias and all that, they're there and they stand out like a sore thumb. Then you go, you know what? This person's not like that. This person's not like that. I'm going to go and deal with them. I'm going to work with them. And let me tell you, the really smart men in particular, right? Women are just, look, they're smart anyway. But the really smart men, they're out there. The thing is, they see you as a business person, not as a woman, not from Western Sydney. They say you're a business person. What is your skill set? What are you good at? What you can do here, here, and here, and then we work together. And that's how it should be. And when it comes to Western Sydney, with all the infrastructure happening, all the community engagement, there's opportunities everywhere. So you're actually shooting yourself in the foot if you don't work with a woman from Western Sydney.
Now, Anaita, can I ask you as well? They say you can't be what you can't see, but you had a great role model with your mum as someone who was very strong and great at business and had a leading career. How do you think that has impacted your entrepreneurial journey, and have you still faced biases along the way?
To be honest with you, I haven't felt the same amount of bias from other people that I put on myself. I actually do put myself in a lot of these, and I've found, and recently I've actually started to discover this more, that I put myself into this gender bucket where, I've got kids now, I can't work as hard as, or I'm too busy to achieve as much as that guy who doesn't have kids, or his partner is looking after the kids. And I put myself in there, and I find that I'm doing it to myself as opposed to other people. Of course, there are those small things that come up, when someone goes, oh, I love that little small hobby you've got, or that little business. Yeah, isn't that cute? I've had that hundreds of times. Those are those little things which kind of put you off at the beginning, and now it doesn't affect me as much. I think I've heard it so many times. But to be honest with you, I think I've always just been motivated by strong women. It's only the three of us in Australia, but I have been motivated a lot by that. And it's not just in business. It's just about, I love the thought of I can make my own decisions. I can make my own money. We come from Western Sydney too, and our first apartment was down the road, and I love that. I think I appreciate that because it's opened my eyes to other people's states. And we don't come from a place of privilege, and I have it now, but I feel like I can see what other people's challenges are. And so it gives me that level of empathy as well in business to understand where other people are coming from.
Now, they say that a third of Australian businesses are run by migrants. So I'm wondering, someone who comes from a migrant background, did you feel there were more challenges or advantages or any differences for you when you were trying to start your business?
Of course. I mean, I'll tell you a story about when I was working for my mum at her surgery. I was her receptionist when I was in school. I used to get phone calls all the time of people driving by her surgery saying, hey, just saw there's a new doctor's practice there. Can you tell me about the doctor? Is it male, female, or what nationality? And I would say, female doctor, Indian. Oh, no, thank you. No, thank you. And the number of times I've had that, I used to also check her voicemails, and her voicemail is, hey, you've reached the doctor and I can't be here right now. And one of the voicemails I still remember was, listen to that Indian accent. I can't understand anything you're saying. Hang up the phone. So those are the challenges that she faced. And she's the one with the challenges. But for me, I think right now I've got this really cool grasp of, okay, I taught myself an Australian accent. And so I don't have, I've actually really tried to move away from that whole being Indian thing. And do you know what? I actually love being Indian now. For a long time I didn't, and I saw how people treated her. all I know is this, right? That when people first judge us as migrants or as people of colour, it could be one thing, but when they stepped into my mum's practice and surgery, I can't even look at her because I'll start crying. That when they stepped into her room and walked out, they were happy. They loved it. So that first perception is the challenge. And then after that, we know we can retain them. And that's the same thing here as well. As I sometimes don't, my first thought is not always in English. I know that sometimes it's really hard as my perception will be something different. But if people talk to me and they build a relationship with me, I know that I can retain them as friends, as colleagues, as customers. So I think it's a challenge at first, but it's actually a privilege to be a migrant.
And you also mentioned you started your first business when you were pregnant, and you've gone on and started other businesses. You've got 3 kids now. There's always a lot of talk about, women can't have it all, but maybe it's just different bits at different times, or yes, we can, I don't know. How has being a mum and who is a mum in business, how has that challenged you as an entrepreneur?
Time management is the first thing, and I think it's that the first thing that happened to me was that thinking, okay, I'm pregnant, so maybe I'll start a business. Let me see how that goes, and it worked, and it really actually did okay, and I was able to change my success metric from I want to be an accountant or a senior manager or a partner at a firm to I want to be able to spend time with my kids and make money as well. And now it's 3-prong. It's I want to spend time with my kids, I want to make money, and I want to help the world. And because my success metrics have changed, I get to enjoy that more. And so when people talk about their career and they think, oh, Sunday night's come, I've got Monday, I don't have that thought anymore. And that feels really good to me because I actually genuinely love working. And I remember when I was in the hospital and I just had my 3rd cesarean, and everyone was like gushing over this baby, and so was I. But I also had my laptop and I was writing my book and I was doing work, but it wasn't work. I genuinely love what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, so you know the difference between Sunday night and Monday, do you? It just blends for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Narelle, while we were talking about bias with Amanda Rose and Anaita, I imagine as an Indigenous founder, you've probably faced some bias yourself in your time. Would you like to dive into that for us?
Yeah, sure. So firstly, my mother is Aboriginal. My great uncle, as you mentioned before, was the late Senator Neville Bonner. My father is not Aboriginal. And so I have this, milky skin. So the bias that I often get when I talk to people that are non-Indigenous, because I never have to explain myself, to our people, but to others, it's like, oh, you're not Aboriginal. Like what? Like 1/10 of you? You're Swedish. Look at you. And only after, as Anaita said, only after people start to listen and hear you talk do they go, yeah, now we see it. So there's that. Obviously, being a woman in the waste and recycling industry over the years has been challenging, although I'm absolutely delighted to see so many other women in this environmental space now. It's a space that is full of women, and as women, we are carers, and that's what this planet of ours needs more than ever, is people that are invested in caring for country, and making sure that we have a livable planet in the future, for our children and for the next generations. I have just always had a great belief in myself and that I can do whatever it is that I set my mind to. And so I've never really let other people's opinions matter too much. I've just always kind of, watched this space. And I guess the first time that I recognised that was in 4th class when our teacher told us that we had to do a poem. And it was an Australian poem. And I said, yeah, okay, I'm going to do The Man from Snowy River. And she said, you're not going to do that because it's too long. You're going to have to choose something else. And so I said, all right, I'm going to do My Country by Dorothea Mckellar. She said, still a long poem, but okay. So I remember standing in front of the class and doing My Country, I Love a Sunburnt Country. And then I finished the poem and I looked at the teacher and said, and now for my second poem. There was movement at the station for the word had passed around. The colt from old regretted got away. And I remember my best friends in primary school were twins, and I remember them looking at me like their poem was like 4 sentences, and they were looking at me like, what is she doing? And then I sat down, and that was the first time that I thought, how does she know what I can do? She's got no idea what I can do. I was a child that literally walked through the house reading a book, and I had a passion for poetry. And from that moment on, I really just thought I'm never going to let anybody tell me what I can and can't do, and that has really been the theme of my life since then. And really that's what I like to spend my time doing now, particularly talking to other people that perhaps haven't been to university and maybe don't come from privileged backgrounds, or maybe have struggled. English is their second language. Whatever the bias that is out there, you have the power to change that. You just have to have the belief in yourself and forget about the tickets that people put on.
Yeah.
I actually just think that you created that meme. Tell me not to do something, I'll do it twice and take photos, because that's that story. It came from you. Okay.
I think, kudos to you for that kind of confidence. I don't know that many kids that would be able to stand up and be as ballsy to do that. But the other thing is, because of that, I mean, what do you think other women face? There's a lot of people that really want to get started or want to do something but kind of lack the confidence to be able to take that first step. How do we help them realise, yeah, you can do it, you've got what it takes?
Well, I think that's really about finding your tribe and coming along to events like this and listening to other people's stories and then connecting, with other women in business. I think generally, I think it was Margaret Albright that said there's a special place in hell for women that don't help other women.
That's why hell's pretty full.
And I think, when I heard that, I thought, really, that's true. We have a responsibility to each other to share, to share our knowledge. Again, culturally, that's a great passion of mine. But to share our knowledge, and in that knowledge to share our experiences. And I'm in my 50s, so when I was at school, we didn't have Instagram and Facebook, and thank goodness, because there's some things that maybe happened then that I'd love to forget about. And now that's you do those things now and they're plastered on the wall. But there's an unrealistic expectation that everybody's life is this beautiful, created, curated. We look like this all the time. We look like that all the time. I think just being real with each other and owning up to, what, actually, there's a lot of times that I've really got no idea what I'm doing, and having the ability to be vulnerable and to share that space with other women. And sometimes all you need is a glass of wine and a hug from your bestie, and you can, put on your big girl pants and get back out there, right? Other times you might need some counselling. I've, had a bit of both, and sometimes all together. But it's really got to start with you. You really just have to believe that you can, and you can.
So then let's talk about mentors then. What kind of role do mentors play in this journey?
Oh, mentoring.
Yes, let's go with you.
Just a little bit on the confidence thing. I want women to know that if you don't feel confident in something, don't blame yourself for it, right? Don't blame yourself for lacking confidence, because I guarantee you, if you write down a list on a piece of paper of all the time someone has done something to you, said something to you, treated you poorly in a relationship, treated you poorly at work, it's chipped away at your confidence, and that's why you're at where you're at, right? So you just need to put them in a vault that has a furnace and pretend they're gone for good. And then go and find people like mentors that are going to help you. And that's where confidence will boost, when you find the right people. And I think mentoring, there's structured mentoring programs. We run them at Western Sydney Women, at Small Business Women Australia, and they're great But then I like the casual mentoring. So being here now, listening to advice, something is going to gravitate towards you. Take it, apply it, test it, see if it works, and also ask. I think we're not asking enough as women. We need to straight up say, how did you do that? Not, I want to copy you and extract from you. More like, how did you handle a difficult staff member? How did you grow your business, and participate in events and so forth. But a mentor will help your confidence. And don't limit yourself to just having female mentors as a female business owner. Have male mentors. Have people older than you and have people potentially younger than you that have got a skill set in an area that you may be weak in.
Yeah, because that's what it's about, really, filling those knowledge gaps and
you're only
the
strong as your
skills
weakest
gaps.
link, right? Yeah. And your whole system, your whole business, everything can crash because of that weak link that you decided, I don't want to deal with it. It's too hard, right? And we've all been there. No, you deal with it and you go and do your research. You even pay for advice. Don't assume you just need mentors, but pay for people and get advice. But pull it all together and believe in your abilities to be able to do it. You might not be the best at it right now, but if you believe in your ability to be able to learn and apply, then do that.
Have either of you had mentors or business coaches that have helped?
I have never had an official mentor. Of course, there are people in my life who are mentors for me, but I actually really like what you said, Amanda, about casual mentors. I never had the term for it, but even just now, I mean, Narelle's words aren't just words. So she said she helps people and she connects people. And I had a maybe 15-minute chat with her earlier. And in that time, she found out what I did and she connected me with a number of people that she knew could help me. I mean, that is, if that's not a mentor, I don't know what is. I think that was just incredible. So I think, yeah, absolutely believing in yourself. And I just have that same sentiment of, if you don't surround yourself with the right people, you're not going to succeed, because we've all been in a situation with someone who maybe doesn't really believe in you. Of course, that's going to be there. Also toxic people. If you can get rid of them, or if you can push them to the sidelines and really not listen to them and just focus on that core group of people who are really there to push you forward, I think, that for me, that's a really good mentor. But I think keeping your mind open as well for any mentorship opportunities and anyone who can come into your life at any given point in time and help you in a way that you didn't expect.
Anything from you, Narelle?
I have had very structured mentors. So I've been part of various mentoring programs over the years, some very successful, others not. I'm quite a structured, organised person, so I like the structure. I've also been mentored through some business networks that I've been in, so really about having the conversations and meeting other women, because it doesn't always have to be, and other men, doesn't always have to be, a program as such. You can sit and have a conversation with somebody and get those and get the nuggets that you need. I now invest, and I consider it to be an investment for me, invest part of my time in sharing my knowledge and mentoring others, but not in the traditional sense of, let's meet on Tuesday afternoon at 4 o'clock, because I really don't have the time for that. But if you picked up the phone and called me and, asked me to help you with something, I would happily give my time. So that's how I casually mentor. I'm going to use that now. That's that's a thing now.
Trademark.
Already taken.
And I think it is, we all have knowledge and we all have lived experience, and we all have things to learn, and we all have things to teach. And there's that old saying that the teacher appears when the student is ready, and in this platform this evening, and for those that are listening online, something that somebody says here will resonate with you, and you will take that nugget of knowledge and take the next step, and really that's what mentoring is as well.
Mm-hmm. So they often say that you can learn as much from your failures as you can from your successes.
More, maybe.
Now, I might start with you, Amanda. I'm not suggesting you have any failures, but you have 6 businesses.
Does marriage count?
6 businesses is a lot of businesses. I'm sure you've had some bumps on the road along the way.
Yes.
What can you tell us you've learnt from them?
See, what's interesting is I was thinking this the other day, I was driving along, something wasn't working, right? Something I did wasn't working, and I don't see it as a failure. I just see it, that just doesn't work. I just need to change it. So I had my very first business, I was doing graphic design and marketing for sole traders. I come from a tradie family. I really wanted to help them. I was so passionate about it. It didn't take long before I realised there's no money in it. And I thought I need to do it as a passion project instead, so I'd help on the side. But I didn't see that, okay, that failed. I just thought, okay, this model didn't work in business, so how can I turn what I want to do for people into a different package, offering to different people in different ways, and structure it differently, right? So I don't see things as, oh, wow, it's a monumental failure. It's like, well, that just didn't work. So I still like the idea of it, or I get rid of it altogether. And I think changing that mindset, then you don't get depressed over something that didn't work. You just say, well, this didn't work that way, and then I need to find out. And it's also testing. I don't think we give ourselves enough time to test something. We're not expected to know something straight away. Test the model, test the idea, put a time frame, 3 months, see how it goes, tweak it, and if it works, roll it out larger, you know? So I think that whole fail, and the term fail fast, well, you don't know you're failing as you're doing it, right? So how about we don't say that? How about we say, test it, see how you go. If it's not working, tweak it, change it, and then do what you need to do to make it work.
That's really sound advice. Now, what about community and networking? We're at a great networking event today. How pivotal, can I talk? How pivotal has networking been in your journey?
When I first started out in my business, I realised I needed to meet people, right? And this is going to shock everyone, but I'm actually shy. Okay, so when I was young, shut up. When I was young, I was shy, and my mum pushed me into everything to get used to it. And then I realised, you know what, everyone else has nerves, and you know, and they just want to get to know you. So when you have that mentality of people just want to meet people and learn, you can have fun with it. But then I became a strategic connector. I made up this term. And I thought, because I was sick of the networking turning up, hey, how are you? Hey, how are you? Hey, without any purpose to it. I thought, why am I here?
Well, it's like the go have a coffee. Should we have a coffee? It's like, what's the reason?
Well, deposit money in my bank account first and you can have lunch for all I can. But the point is, what is the purpose? So why am I going to this event? Who do I want to meet? What do I want to learn? How is this going to help my business growth? And you need to be strategic about everything you do. And I thought connecting was one of them, because connecting isn't just this event. It's, okay, we're now on LinkedIn. I might follow what you do for 2 years. I might then see an opportunity. Hey, let's partner, or you sponsor an event, or I'd like to work with you 2-3 years later. So you've got to be very smart about why you're meeting people and how you're doing it. But it has literally built, in the last 15 years, it has built a huge foundation. And I put a lot of hours into that and loved every minute, because I'm learning so much about people. But all of that has helped me that right now, when I come up with a new idea, much to the pain of my team of what's she doing now, I'd be like, oh, I've got this idea. And I will literally just make 5 emails to people that I know, and it's up and running within a week. You know, and it's only because I've done 15, 20, maybe longer years of connecting. So it is very vital. And if you hate doing it, grab a buddy, take someone with you, and meet someone new when you're there, and just realize that everyone is there for the same reason as you, you know.
Anaita, I'd like to think of your TikTok following as connecting in a really major way. So can you tell me, how did that all begin? Why did you decide to take your marketing tips online?
Because I needed a way to sell my book. And I wrote the book, and I realized after 500 copies had landed on my doorstep that I had no way of selling it, because I hadn't created a website or any marketing or anything. And so I thought, I'm really embarrassed to tell my friends and family that I've written a book. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a TikTok account where no one is, because I just thought it's a bunch of 16-year-olds to 20-year-olds who may want to do some marketing. And I started my TikTok account, and all I said to myself was, the advice out there is to create 4 videos a day and be consistent, and then answer all the comments and make sure that you're really putting a lot of value into it and not expecting anything back. And that was my only thing. And I think it's the same thing with networking. And you know, when I did that, the audience just started to grow by tens of thousands every month. And I realized that I was doing something different that other people weren't, and that is brands going to a platform thinking they can sell a product only, going with like, hey, here's my shampoo, please buy it from me, as opposed to, hey, these are your problems, I'm facing them, let's talk through them and let's add some value. And that's what I did with the digital marketing book.
That's fantastic.
Warning, the fire alarm system has operated. Stand by for further instructions.
Emergency.
Bet you didn't risk assess for this.
You should be safe. It's raining outside.
No, it is from the
fire
rain.
alarm system has operated. Stand by for further instructions.
It means check
Everyone
your phones.
panic, run, the door's that way.
Should we go?
Warning, the fire alarm system has operated.
Oh,
There we go.
well, thank you for that interlude.
That was the bathroom break. We forgot to let you know.
If I can redirect back to Narelle after you've had a sip of your water. Sorry. What is the biggest learning you think you've made about yourself in this leadership journey you've been on?
Well, I agree with the sentiment. I don't think about failure either. I call them lessons, and I add a value to everyone. And so throughout my business career, when things have happened that haven't...
Attention all guests. We are currently investigating the situation. Please wait for further instructions. I repeat, attention all guests. We are currently investigating the situation. Please wait for further instructions.
Thank you. So I add a value to them, and then so some are very expensive lessons that you pay a lot of attention to make sure you don't make those same ones again, and those are the ones that I like to share. For goodness sake, don't do this. This is what it costs me. Here's another way that might work for you. And again, it really just goes back to life is a roller coaster. It goes up, it goes down, it goes around. Sometimes it's fun, and sometimes it's insert the F-bomb terrifying, right? That's the journey, that's the process, and business is like that too. Sometimes it's amazing even when you're doing it, with your passion, and sometimes it's not, and sometimes it goes up and sometimes it goes down. So really just understanding that it's all a process, and make sure that you enjoy the ride along the way. And I guess I understand that it's a ride and a process, and so I don't get so wrapped up in it. And I think it's difficult too these days with social media, depending on what your business is, because sometimes people can be really awful. So you've worked your guts out and you've launched a new product, and then, it turned up 60 seconds late, or, the packaging wasn't right, or was a different color or whatever, and people just can be awful, and sometimes that can be soul destroying if you've put your heart and soul into something and people haven't seen the value. And so the way that I have even dealt with that, because trolls is not something that I had to deal with when I started my business. That was just the mean girl on the school playground that you got to leave there at the end of the day, right? Now they kind of follow you
Wait
around.
for her outside.
But again, really making sure that you've got your, that you've got your steel jacket on, and just understand that those people don't know the first thing about you, and it's important what your family thinks of you and what you think of you, and leave the rest at the door.
And they probably have their own issues going on. There are more issues than you do, more failures or learnings than you do.
Just
right?
embrace the block button.
The nastier they are, the more issues that they generally seem to have. There's some really clever marketers out there that do some really fun stuff with trolls on social.
Yeah.
I get a lot of trolls after TV, and especially on Twitter, and I used to reply with just condescending gifs all the time, like the they're there, so much so they would then complain to the network and tag them saying, your guest is sending me condescending gifts on a regular basis. I'm like, let's screenshot what you said first, buddy. Yeah. That's glorious.
I know.
So again, that's about, loving yourself and really not taking on other people's baggage. You don't need to pick up that baggage. Leave it where it is, and just move on past it.
Since we're in a kind of advice-y mode, what kind of advice would, or this to all three of you, would you give our audience here watching today and our people watching from home about identifying what their superpower is and how they can be boss ladies?
Identifying your superpower. Okay, so think about what you absolutely loved doing when you were younger. So what did you spend a lot of your time doing? What is it that your family will say that you're really good at? Go back to the roots of who you are and what you're passionate about. Because I think we get lost with the world and what everyone else is doing, and we want to be that. Oh no, they're so successful, I want to do a business like that. But do you really? So go back to find out, what do I love doing? What am I naturally gifted at? And your parents and your family will often tell you what that is. And then say, right, where's the gap in the market of where I can make the most benefit with that? And start small. So one by one is how things get done. Don't expect to grow quickly. Don't expect to be, an overnight success. Plan it out, test it, do things like that. But don't try and copy others. Go with what works for you and what you love. So when I started Western Sydney Women, for example, and every business I started was because I cracked the shits with someone, right? It's because someone annoyed me or there was a disadvantage for women. So I created Western Sydney Women because they were ignored and no one thought anything like that would succeed. Small Business Women Australia, I got annoyed that women were being ignored in lockdowns with advocacy. So I started that. So that's my method of, kind of like wanting to defend or give a voice to the voiceless. But with women in general, don't try and be everyone else. Learn from others, but pick what you love doing. Find that passion, find that moment where you go, why is this happening? I feel disgusted by this. I need to change it and do something about that, and it's not that hard. So hard work, yes, but don't think, I can't do it. Don't think, I'm not a businesswoman. I don't know how to do this. Seriously, I built everything from scratch, working class family, had no idea about anything, and I managed to do it. So if I can do it, anyone can do it.
I mentioned before, I'm a very organised person. I have a Trello board that has my life mapped out in 5-year intervals till I'm 98. So I can tell you exactly how my life is going to end up and all of the things that I will achieve along the way. And it started, as I said, back in that classroom when I was in year 4. So I'm a believer in design your own life. What is it that you want? And the world that we live in now, you can be anything, you can do anything, you can achieve anything. You really need to know what it is, because if you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there, right? So take the time to investigate, try different things. I tried running a kissing class. Running a marketing company. Clip art was what I was trying to think of. Now that everybody has Canva.
I think you need to bring back that kissing class, by the way.
I feel like it's called something else now. But anyway.
Married at first sight.
And I'm in the recycling space, and that's where my passion is now. There's something else coming down the line. But play. I agree with you. We get so serious when we get older and we forget to play and we forget to have fun and we think that we're meant to, that everything's meant to be painful.
Find your joy.
Find your joy. My business one of my investors has a saying, he's an older gentleman, and he has a saying, we're here for a good time, not for a long time. We're here for a good time, not for a long time. I think that's a great saying. So just make sure you're having a good time.
I would say, to answer your question about finding your superpower, I think everyone here kind of knows their strengths, right? Everyone understands what they are, and they've probably been honing them for years. I think something that you could probably identify more of is what your weaknesses are. I think if you can identify that, it actually makes you stronger as a person. One, you can fix them and you can work towards that and learn more and do that, or you can just recognize it, and it actually helps you to be a leader. It helps you in business. It helps you with your friends. It helps you to understand you and your own psychology, and why you get affected by certain things. So if I'm talking about, that superpower, it's that I know what I'm really good at. I think actually everyone knows what they're pretty good at, but it's the weakness side of things, which I think if you can identify that, you're winning.
I'd like to maybe throw it over to the room now to see if they've got any questions for you.
Let's see if they're listening.
If you've got a question, if you just want to pop your hand up. Mia is down the back. I think she's got a mic. Yes? No? No.
You can yell.
You can yell really loudly. Anyone have a question? Excellent.
Just a general question for most of you here. How did you overcome the naysayers or the haters?
They're glorious, right? You get a lot of them. So I've been laughed at to my face at functions. I've been mocked. All these things happen, and it doesn't happen as much now, more because I somehow create fear in people. Because I do screenshot abuse online and put it on my Instagram and leave their name on it. So it's kind of a bit of a warning. But essentially, it's the blinkers. So my mum taught me that, honey, put your blinkers on, stay focused on what you need to get done and what you need to do, and forget everyone else. Don't worry about what they're saying. Blinkers all the time. And sometimes we're guilty of looking for it. We go looking and we reach out to things, or we see what other people are doing, and then they see what you're doing, then they comment on what you're doing. Well, who cares? Who wasn't made the comment about not caring about what other people think? It is the most glorious feeling. And I'm asked all the time, how do you not care about what other people think? And I'm like, well, they're not paying my bills. And they're not my clients. Customers and clients are different because you want to engage with them. And like you said, you retain them. But in general, how are you helping me? So really, it's boundaries for yourself. Just ignore them. Use the block function. Use the mute function. Cut them out of your life completely if you need to. But stay focused on your journey, because if you start to ask, why did they say that and why did they do this, you send yourself crazy trying to work it out. So just go, no, you're dead to me now, move on.
What if the toxic people are actually in your life, not online?
I'll get rid of them. I just, boom, overnight, you're dead to me. I don't want to speak to you anymore. I've had situations, I've known people for a very, very long time, and actually I didn't realise that they were commenting and being negative and actually trying to bring me down in my business. And I just went, and block. That's it. Don't hear from them again. And if I see them in the street, I'm polite, but why have you in my life? So, because you know what? You need to remove the toxic to fill it with the nice person. So the more people I'm removing from my life, the more room I have for the people that I have in my life now.
If you think of yourself as a source of power, what works for me is that I just don't give away my power. So I'm not going to allow you into my space and give you the opportunity to take away some of my power with a sarcastic remark or a negative comment. I just don't let you in. The other thing that works for me is I'm a very values-based person, and so for me, if our values are not aligned, and it's very easy to see if people's values are aligned with who they are, you can hear it in a conversation. If somebody says their core value is being respectful, but then you hear them trashing somebody in the corridor, that's not a person that has respect as their core value, or honesty, and you hear them. So, if you know what your core values are and those are your guiding principles, then listen for those in conversation. And it doesn't mean that, you might not go to dinner with this person. It just means that they're not going to be in your inner circle. And just remember, I say this a lot, that there are some people in life that if you gave them a check for $10 million, they would say, you should have given me 20. There are just some people that will just never be happy with whatever, and that's